Finally, I'm done with this video and I can just chill for a bit. Wait, what? Beaplays actually responded? No way, I gotta see this.
The only thing I've ever groomed is my 2 Persian cats. I'm not a groomer. I'm just a loser who didn't understand I shouldn't respond to fans. And I'm not a predator, even though a lot of you think so. Because 5 years ago, I made a fart joke.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
Welcome back, y'all. Are y'all ready for one of the worst YouTuber apologies ever? Cause I sure wasn't. I mean, okay, I knew it would be utter garbage, but the longer I read it, the worse it got. Some of y'all probably have no idea what I'm talking about, so just a quick summary. A popular YouTuber named Beaplays, who is now the ex-community manager for Dress to Impress, got exposed. She has been accused of grooming a minor and sexual coercion. And all of this came out during the fallout of the Dress to Impress Lady Gaga meet and greet. I made a video where I discuss all the allegations against B in depth, so if you're interested, I recommend watching that one first. But after B got exposed, she went radio silent for about a month, until September 17th when she finally made a response. The tweet she posted shows an incredibly long statement, but don't let that fool y'all, she said a whole lot of nothing in 9 paragraphs. There's about 5% accountability and 95% blaming everyone else. I remember her saying in messages to her editor that she was working with a lawyer to write a statement. So if this is the best they could come up with, get your money back immediately, because ain't no way. On a serious note, this response made me incredibly angry because I can see through the manipulative language and gaslighting, but other people might not, especially younger fans who don't understand the severity of the allegations. B's response is just an attempt at saving face. I'm sure she's desperately wanting to get back into content creation because that was her livelihood. But this is something that I personally believe you can't come back from, and we shouldn't let her. Also, everyone has been talking about this specific part in her response where she says that she's going to make a statement about Dress to Impress, and I'm just like, wrap it up. Pack your bags, it's time to go. Go get that 9 to 5. Way to take accountability, B. Now, I know there's been this conversation about Beaplays being the scapegoat for the Dress to Impress team, but I'm gonna be honest, whatever she has to say about them is nowhere near as bad as what she did, allegedly. So I'm not trying to hear it. Now in this video, I'm not going to read through the drawn out statement, but I did take notes to summarize her paragraphs and also to rebuttal her claims. In case you want to read it for yourself, I'll put it on the screen. But trust me y'all, it's not worth your time. Also, Galaxy made a response to B's statement, so we'll go over that as well. Before we start, I need to say this. While B has not been found guilty of any of this in the court of law, I personally choose to believe the victim, and I encourage others to support and listen to victims as well. Also, trigger warning for discussions of sensitive topics such as grooming, child exploitation, and coercion. With that, let's go ahead and start with the first section. Now I'm gonna tell y'all one more time, this statement is really bad. Even though I'm summarizing everything, you're gonna get heated. It's giving, I made a severe and continuous lapse in my judgment. In the very first paragraph, B talks about why it took her so long to make a statement. She explained that she wanted to take into consideration other people's feelings, but I guess that doesn't actually include her victim, because her whole statement is her basically blaming everybody else and outside forces for why she did what she did, allegedly. She also says she's solely making this statement for the people she hurt, and also that she's not making this to dodge accountability. Okay, sure, whatever. But yeah, this paragraph is pretty much a yap sesh. Okay, so the second paragraph is super long, but literally in the first sentence she's already lying. She states that she was 19 when all of this started, but based on the screenshots we have, it shows that Galaxy joined the server around April of 2019, and B's birthday is January 23rd of 1999, which means she was already 20 years old whenever she met Galaxy.
Now guess where you going? To jail.
Galaxy also confirms this in his response to B, so this already doesn't look good. In my opinion, I feel like she said she was 19 to minimize the damage. Pretty much to be like, oh look, well I was 19 actually, we were only 3 years apart. But let's be so for real, 19 and 16, that's already a no. It doesn't do anything. Right after this, she starts talking about her mental health and how she was suffering from severe body dysmorphia, dysphoria, depression, anxiety, and feeling incredibly alone, which literally has nothing nothing to do with anything in my opinion. I'm sorry she had to go through that, but I'm depressed and have anxiety, and I'm not out here committing nefarious crimes allegedly. That right there, honestly, is just a way to manipulate the audience. You try to make yourself seem as human as possible so people will feel more forgiving, or people will be like, you know what, I relate to this, I understand. But for the millionth time, mental health is not an excuse for hurting other people. Now this next part is also a lie based on what Galaxy is saying. B says she was introduced to Galaxy through a friend, but Galaxy says he was a fan who joined the server and she befriended him and started helping him with content creation. And that's where things escalated. She then talked about how the friend group was toxic, blah blah blah, and pretty much that's how she became attached to Galaxy. Now she does admit it was inappropriate, but since she had depression and severe anxiety, she latched on to anyone who gave her affection. So the accountability went out the window immediately. Now towards the end of the paragraph, B does something that's very disrespectful. For some reason, she felt the need to bring up Galaxy's home life at the time, which in my eyes, this is basically her trying to paint herself as a white knight. I don't know who told her it'd be appropriate to bring up his home life. Then she ends off saying that she made inappropriate jokes that were unacceptable. I guess these screenshots are just haha jokes, huh? Alright everybody, let's wrap it up. B said they were just jokes. We overreacted, guys. It's our bad. The fact we're barely on the second paragraph, I told y'all it was a hot mess. Now in this paragraph, B starts talking about when Galaxy moved to the UK once he was an adult, which is true. Both B and Galaxy have confirmed he was 18. But again, she brings up Galaxy's home life and how her mom let him live with them due to that. Then she says her separation anxiety caused her to treat Galaxy unfairly. She doesn't say how she treated him unfairly or anything. She doesn't address the allegation where she was buying him double shots to get him more intoxicated. She didn't address her allegedly coercing Galaxy into doing things he didn't want to for money. She just says he did not deserve it, nor was it okay for me to behave in such a way. Now, like we talked about in the previous video, she brings up the school investigation. The school pretty much told her that her behavior was unacceptable, but she did not break any laws. Which, let me clarify, that doesn't mean she didn't do anything wrong. You can tell the school was definitely side-eyeing her. Also, the fact that an investigation was even started sounds like someone saw something and thought, yeah, this is not okay, someone needs to do something. And now for paragraph 4. She talks about how she really regrets everything she did and how she wished she could go back in time. She then says something that I believe is true. She says, my constant need for people's approval grew because I felt unworthy of support and unworthy of kindness. I guess that explains why B is closed off to any type of criticism whatsoever. So closed off that she allegedly called out a 13-year-old child to her large audience because that child made a video that she did not like, which led to the child being harassed by psychopaths online. She also admits that she developed a nasty and snarky personality that people have seen.
Like, you guys just hateful.
I'm fine. I'm having a great time.
So miserable.
In my opinion though, I feel like she's only admitting all of this because she's trying to draw the attention away from the allegations. In the next paragraph, she claims that she's been going to therapy for 3 years.
Okay.
Which again, irrelevant. It's just a bunch of hoopla. Like, that's awesome, you go to therapy. Now talk about the allegations. She then decides to mention that she's working for charities and trying to support anyone else that she could, like a small creator. I love when people think doing charity is a shield from any horrid actions they commit. Oh my god, and here's the best part. She didn't speak about it publicly because she didn't want people to think she was doing it for clout. Oh my god, wow. She's such a good person. Oh wait, but she brought it up now, so...
Interesting.
Like, out of all times she could have brought it up, she decided to bring it up now.
That's suspicious. That's weird.
Now in this paragraph, she pretty much says, I know I'm not an awful person, certainly not intentionally. And the rest of it is blah blah blah. We're almost done, y'all, I promise. Now in this new paragraph, B says, for everyone who has been impacted by my behavior, you will never know how sorry I am. Oh my god, does she actually say sorry? Finally? After 6 paragraphs? Round of applause, y'all. Standing ovation, actually. Let's do it. Then she says she didn't mention any names because she doesn't want them to get any hate. Or maybe she hasn't mentioned names because she doesn't want people to search up the allegations. Oh, okay, that makes sense. Now we're finally at that paragraph where she talks about dress to impress. She pretty much starts off by saying she isn't mad that people are holding her accountable. But like, this is a two-way street, so if you're not gonna take accountability, I don't know what to tell you. Also, if you ask me personally, I'm sure she's pissed off about this. us. Knowing how she's acted in the past for like the littlest thing, I'm sure this specific situation has her heated. Now this is where she pulls out her Uno reverse card. B says, I plan to make a separate statement soon on my experience with Dress to Impress to ensure that their behavior is also held accountable, as it does not escape me that they utilize the situation to avoid accountability of their own mistakes.
Okay, girl, bye.
And I've seen so many of you want to understand what truly happened behind the scenes. You are correct, B. We want to know what happened behind the scenes. Not about Dress to Impress though. I'm talking about those disgusting allegations against you. Don't nobody care about Dress to Impress, none of that. Your deflection tactic is trash. You're truly the queen of unaccountability. We hate to see it. I don't know if you're just doing this because you're trying to get one last fat check from YouTube, or you're like, you know what, I'm bringing everyone down with me. But whatever they've done is nowhere near as bad as what you've done, allegedly. Also, why would I believe anything you have to say in the first place? You literally lied in your statement and downplayed everything. In my personal opinion, you cannot be trusted. Please find a 9-to-5 and leave us alone. Thanks. And then in her last paragraph, she says she's sorry or whatever. I don't care anymore. I've pretty much made my thoughts known throughout this whole section. So let's go ahead and move on to the next one, where we'll go over Galaxy's response to B's statement. Now for this section of the video, I'm gonna go ahead and read Galaxy's full response. I think it's super important we go through the whole thing because he does disprove a lot of the stuff B said in her statement. It's not super long, so don't worry, we'll get through it pretty quickly. Here's what Galaxy said. I honestly only believe you're apologizing because you up and got caught. You are simply trying to soften the blow of things. At the start of our friend group, the youngest person was 14, most of us were 16 to 20. And below this, Galaxy highlights something that B said in her statement. In B's statement, she said, a friend of mine at the time mentioned that she knew someone who played similar games to me and enjoyed making similar content to the style I made and suggested that perhaps it may be good for me to consider making new friends. I accepted her suggestion. Galaxy says, this friend at the time didn't even know me. I was just a viewer who liked your content and was in your Discord. You helped me make content. I was not creating content before I joined the group. Galaxy shows another screenshot where Beaplays says, our group became extremely toxic and everyone within it during that time became very negative and toxic. Galaxy said, our groups was definitely toxic at times, but most of the time it was because you would start fights over me or anytime I gave attention to someone who wasn't you. How can you try to justify why you were helping me? I lived in a bad environment. Yes, I was unhappy sometimes, but I had normal teenage arguments with my family that you would blow out of proportion to give me more of a reason to come live with you. Should we talk about all the personal stuff that happened to you in your home? You have absolutely no right to bring up my situation. You are over exaggerating my situation just to benefit you. You sent me an old microphone you had after already telling another friend you were going to send it to them. All that support for my 2K laptop was because you bought content off of me. Within months of us knowing each other, the plans were already being talked about for me to stay over there with you. You are making it sound like we just planned this when we were adults. You were dramatic about everything, and that's why your mom was worried. We spoke a few times and it was just a basic hi, how are you? You played Overwatch with my friend and I. We didn't even use voice chat, we literally just hopped into a party. I was still trying to keep the peace at the time. How can you talk about the UK situation in one sentence? I wrote paragraphs about most of the things that happened while I was over there. Why are you not talking about any of that? In another screenshot, it shows a highlighted sentence from B's statement. My school did a full investigation and their findings were that while my behavior was not acceptable, there was no laws broken and I had not committed anything nefarious. Galaxy says, this happened in 2019. This was only about us dating, which again, we never dated. They never investigated anything else, and not to mention half of it didn't even happen yet. You are making this seem like there was a full investigation about everything between us. All this charity and supporting smaller creators will never make up for the things you did to me and the others you've hurt. Obviously, I'm absolutely pissed right now. The entire statement was straight up BS. To me, you did not actually take accountability for anything. It's crazy to me that you are basically blaming your mental illness for the stuff you did to me. It's been almost a month and this is all you have to say? Went public after being private, but but kept your comments off? When I confronted you in 2022 on Instagram, this is exactly how you responded. I mean this in the best way possible, but you need to stay in therapy because clearly you need to do some more self-reflection. You were an awful person and you still are an awful person. Stop blaming your mental illness and actually take accountability for all the things you did to me and others. I could share more about the things you did to me. I'm not sharing it here though because I recognize that most of the people in these communities are young. They do not need to be exposed to that kind of trauma. I'm so sorry to Galaxy for having to be re-traumatized by B like this. That's the worst part of the apology, to be honest. While the stuff she said was terrible, the apology was harmful to victims. And the worst part is there are some people who will forgive B. It's crazy how much she downplayed the situation on everything, but I can't say I'm shocked. Now let's go ahead and move on to the last section where I'll give my final thoughts on everything. So this apology is clearly not an apology. I'ma keep it a buck. This whole statement is just to manipulate people. She's hoping that people will believe her and that the narrative will change in her favor. But the thing is, there's literally proof all over the internet. And she's trying to play it off as it being jokes. But no ma'am, it was never and will never be a joke. The things she said were so vile and disgusting. I don't know. There's no way a lawyer helped her write this. I'ma be honest though, I thought she was never gonna respond. I thought she was gonna pull the classic YouTube hiatus for 6 months and then come back like nothing happened kind of thing. But nope, she came back, made a statement, and it was horrible. This is what I think she's gonna do. One of these days, she's gonna come back to streaming or make a YouTube video. She's still gonna have comments off, she's gonna have her chat off, and she's just gonna act like nothing ever happened and like everything's good. Her loyal fans will stick by her, but everyone else can see who she really is. Or maybe she'll actually stay away and reflect on her actions, which I highly doubt. If you ask me what I want her outcome to be, well,
Calling the police.
Be like prison food.
in my opinion, that's the only acceptable outcome. It happens way too often that predators get away with their behavior. Like, I'm sick of it, especially when it comes to celebrities, YouTubers, all that. I've had enough. It always gets swept under the rug and everybody forgets about it. But I'm not forgetting about it and y'all shouldn't either. What makes me super mad is the fact that she weaponized Galaxy's home life in order to make herself look better. Not only that, she barely acknowledged anything that happened in the UK when Galaxy was 18. Not only did she take advantage of him as a minor, she also took advantage of him as an adult, allegedly. I also hate that she brought up the school investigation to make it seem like she's been cleared of any wrongdoing at all. But like Galaxy said, this investigation was only about them dating. You know what B could do to prove her innocence is actually show us the investigation the school did. But she probably wouldn't do that. Just like she didn't even try to disprove any of the claims that were made against her, she didn't even try to disprove any of the evidence. All she did was take fake accountability for her actions without actually addressing what she did. In my opinion, I don't think B is innocent. No, I'm not a judge, I'm not a lawyer, but I am a human being and I see right through her. B needs to actually get off the internet, get her life together, and not come back. Maybe that sounds harsh, but I really don't care. If you can't bother to actually talk about what you did, then I'm not gonna bother listening to you. One thing she can do though is stop re-traumatizing her victims. If she actually cared, she wouldn't even bother coming back to make another statement or a video or anything. That's pretty much how I feel. One thing I'll never have is empathy for a predator. Anyways, let me know in the comments down below how you feel about her response. I'll see y'all in the next video.
All aboard the toxic gossip train. Chugging down the tracks of misinformation. The toxic gossip train. We got a one-way ticket to manipulation station. Toxic gossip train. Tie me to the tracks and harass me for my past. These rumors look like facts. If you don't mind the gaps, I won't survive in the crash. But hey, at least you're having fun.
Now guess where you going? To jail.